without further ado, I'd like to welcome you all here this afternoon. We're here for a Tops Tips session on reducing food waste in high volume kitchens. I'm from Kai Commitment. We're delighted to bring this to you in conjunction with our partners Leanpath and Compass Group. I'm Jess Broon. I'm the Program and Account Manager for Kai Commitment. But before we get started today, I wanted to remind you on why today's session is really important. Food waste is a significant problem, both globally and locally. Around 30% of food that is grown never makes it to plate. And in New Zealand, we see that impact of that through food insecurity, through rising food costs, and through avoidable emissions from organic waste. In challenging economic times like we're all experiencing now, reducing food waste isn't just the right thing to do. It's a great opportunity to save money and improve efficiencies across your food service operations. Now, the reason why we're hosting today's webinar today is because it's International Stop Food Waste Day, which is an initiative created by Compass Group 10 years ago. It was created to shine the light on food waste and, more importantly, on practical actions to reduce food waste. Very briefly, in case you're not familiar with us, Kai Commitment is a charitable organisation. It's working to ensure that food in New Zealand is valued and not wasted, and with a view to benefiting people, the planet, and the economy. We're building a network of food businesses across New Zealand who are prioritising food waste within their internal organisations, but also coming together to address systemic issues, to things that sit beyond their own organisation, because we believe that real change happens is when you collaborate across the food system, when you work together to share practical solutions and around practical alignment and actionable solutions. And collaborate as an ecosystem is at the heart of everything we do at Kai Commitment. Now, we have a Q&A today, so I ask at session at the end, so I ask that you hold your questions or put them in the chat until later. So without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Sam Smith from Leanpath to take you through today's session. Thank you, Sam.
Great. Thank you. And I am going to stop sharing for just a moment. I am Sam Smith. I'm the Senior Director of Marketing at Leanpath. Thank you, Jess. Just to establish a bit of bona fides of Leanpath before we get started. So when we're talking about food waste, you have a reason to trust us. We've been providing food waste prevention technology to the food service industry for 20 years. We operate in over 45 countries, including New Zealand. And just this week, we announced a big milestone working with thousands of kitchens around the globe. We have prevented over 200 million pounds or 91 million kilos of food waste. Whatever unit of measure you use, that is a big number. And we're very proud of the food service teams we work with. And I am joined by today's presenters who I will let introduce themselves. Let's start off with my colleague, Chef Rob, and then we'll move to Chef Dante and Chef Brett. Rob, introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Rob White. I am a chef for the last 45 years of my life, and now I've been with Leanpath helping chefs prevent food waste, coming up with better efficiencies, process changes, whatever needs to be done in their kitchen to reduce food waste. I've been with Leanpath for 10 years, like I said, and I love what I do, and I'm happy to be on here helping chefs because your guys' day is very, very busy, but this is all I talk about all day, every day is how to prevent food waste. So welcome.
Brett, you want to come off mute and introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Brett McGregor. I have been with Compass for almost 10 years now. Started off as brand ambassador, but now am the National Culinary Development Lead. I've noticed over the last 5 years a massive push towards, I call it rescuing food or produce and using the whole animal, etc. So from my perspective, this is the future. We get on the horse now and we can gallop away with a big smile on our faces.
I love that, Brad. Chef Dante, introduce yourself, please.
Well, thank you, Sam. My name is Dante Moren. I am the Culinary Development Lead for ESS Compass Group New Zealand, and I am very excited to join this webinar today. Thank you.
Great. And I am going to share our presentation again, and we are going to start off with an audience poll. I want to get you thinking about your own food waste here for a second. So our first poll question, what percent of your food purchases do you estimate go to waste? Do you estimate around 2%, around 12%, around 18%, or more than that? Just take a stab in the dark. If you're tracking your food waste, you may have a clear understanding, but we'll give you a couple more seconds here to chime in, and then we will take a look at the results. We'll give you one more second. All right, can we pull up the results and see where folks voted? Cool. About 8% said 2%. We're looking at the 12 to 18% for most folks, more than that for some. Great. So if you're not tracking your food waste, chances are more likely than not that your waste level is higher than you think. There's simply no way to know what your food waste levels are in busy high production kitchens unless you're making the concerted effort to see it. At like I say, we've been doing this work for over 20 years now, and the average food service operation wastes a lot of food. Based on our data at Leanpath, we see about 4 to 10% of food purchases wasted in the kitchen, and then an additional 3 to 7% are wasted once the food reaches the diner's plate through plate waste. There are major impacts as a result of this inefficiency. The most obvious is the financial impact. The UK-based NGO WRAP, which focuses on food waste, crunched the numbers and found that the cost of the wasted food itself, so the food that's wasted, the cost of that food, only accounts for about half of the true cost of food waste. You can basically double that number when you add in the labor wasted, prepping the food, and the haulage fees and other ancillary costs to dispose of that. So to put it in round numbers, if a food service operation with $1 million in food spend is wasting about 10% of its food purchases, that's $100,000, then basically double that to get the true cost. The environmental impact is just as staggering. If food waste were a country, it would rank third in greenhouse gas emissions. And when food waste breaks down, it doesn't release just any greenhouse gas, it releases methane, one of the most caustic greenhouse gases there is. Controlling food waste can be transformational for an operation. At Leanpath, we see an average 50% reduction in food waste with our tools, and that translates to about a 2 to 6% savings on food purchase costs. You get more efficient staff, you get a more sustainable operation. So we're here today to talk about food waste because it's a really big deal. But we're also here to talk about food waste because, as Jess said, it's Stop Food Waste Day, which was launched by Compass Group, an organization that we're very proud at Leanpath to say we've been partnering with for over a decade. So I'm going to pass it over to Brett and Dante to tell us about Stop Food Waste Day and food waste prevention at Compass Group. Off to you, Brett.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Well, who is Compass? Well, we're New Zealand's largest catering company with over 300 different sites across the Motu. And we employ around about 4,000 very proud Kiwis and have over 750 suppliers. Stop Food Waste Day, in a nutshell for you guys, it was started by Compass around about 10 years ago in the USA. It was led by chefs. And at the time, I suppose a lot of chefs were staring down a fairly uncomfortable question. And that really is, they were cooking great food, but just too much of it was ending up in the bin. And instead of kind of shrugging it off and kind of calling it the cost of doing business, the chefs asked a better question. What if we cooked smarter instead? And so that's really where it was born. And so this is where we got to. Slide 2. It was always a chef-led, action-driven day. It was never about guilt or about, blaming somebody. It was about perfection. It was about doing better with what we already had. It's about a change in a mindset. And with that comes not only environmental, but financial benefits as well. You begin to look, as chefs, you begin to look at food in a completely different way. It's not about waste. It's about utilizing every part of the ingredient. And here's the thing that I think that chefs understand instinctively. Food is not always about what's left on the plate. We've had many examples before where we've not worried about food coming in from outside, from outside the lounge, etc. It was never just about that. It's about over ordering. It's about over prepping. It's about bad storage. It's about knowing what to do with all of the ugly parts of the veggies. And in small to medium businesses, margins are so tight, like they are for us at the moment, that every kilo of food wasted is money you've already paid for twice if you're having to send it off to landfill. Slide 3, please. So why it matters here in New Zealand. If we fast forward from the US to here, we grow world-class food. We export food to feed millions of people overseas, and yet more than 1.2 million tons of food is wasted in New Zealand every year, which equates to be about 240 kilos per person. That's around 18% of that ends up in the landfill, where it breaks down and produces methane, as we've already said. That greenhouse gas is far more potent than CO2. In fact, that organic waste, when we include it, accounts for about 9% of New Zealand's biogenic methane emissions. So it's not just an environmental issue, it's a business issue. And that's why Stop Food Waste Day resonates so strongly here, because it's practical and not theoretical. Slide 4, please. Okay, so a Kiwi value, the respect for kai. So there's a little saying there that I use a lot. I do a lot of pottery, and so I always put this on the base of my bowls. And so with your food basket and my food basket, the people will thrive. So basically it means when we're working together, great things will happen. So in Aotearoa, food has mana. It's all about, it's not just about one big heroic action. It's about working together for the common goal. It's about a lot of small personal actions across kitchens, cafes, businesses, office, and factories. The mindset is exactly what Stop Food Waste Day was designed to unlock. So yes, Stop Food Waste Day started in America, but its success lives in Kiwi kitchens, Kiwi businesses, and Kiwi communities. It's about respecting food, respecting people, and respecting the realities of running a business. And if there's one last message that I would like you to take away today, it's this: you don't need to be perfect, you just need to start. Thank you.
Awesome. You taking it over, Dante?
Yes, absolutely, Sam. Thank you for that. Well, I am going to give you now a little taste of the system that we use at Compass Group to ensure we manage production and waste properly. The one I am very proud of, because I've seen how all this has been built, and I can see the positive impact has been huge. Well, for us, it's very important to invest time and resources into this. And especially in the last couple of years, we also start to add more AI tools to ensure we can manage this properly. Now, everything for us start building our forecast, and we do that by understanding our customer needs. That is from information we get from our clients to the data from previous days or previous seasons. After we jump into one of the most important part, and that is where many teams are connected, and at the same time many systems are connected, that is our menu and recipe development. That is where we have all our management recipe and menu system connect with our ordering system, and that is where we collaborate. We as chef collaborate with the supply chain team as well with the dietitian team. And honestly, it has been a great experience, like working in an environment like that, so much knowledge going on there. After when we have all that built, there is a lot of data that we have there. and it's very important for us because we can manage the ingredients information that translate to manage allergen information, for example, or all the nutritional information that is very important for us. We move into one of the most critical stage of preventing that food waste, that is the production planning. Okay, and that is where we use another tools that get information from the recipes and the menus, and that translate to whatever portions we want to prepare of that specific dish for that specific day, and that can give us information to the gram. It's very, very important for us that. And now at the end, after all the service is done, we move to the last stage of this. That is where we add all the information into, or capture all the information with Leanpath, and that is where we analyze the data. That could be information or actions that need to be done for the following day to adjust the menus and the production, or that can be also used to analyze data to create menus for the next seasons or adapt to any other things that we need to do. The next slide, Sam, please. Well, and just to translate this into like more practical things, and if I go, as I say, from a chef point of view into the detail of how we build the menus, we try to select ingredients that can be used on more than one dish. And it's an exercise that I invite you guys, the chef, to do it. At the beginning, could be like, oh no, I want to add more on this and this and have more. But you need to try to have reduce your amount of ingredients, because if you have less and you become more creative, you will automatically generate less waste. Okay. Also, always you need to ensure that you have the right dishes that you want to share with your clients and everything. But it's very important that you stop for a second and understand: do you really need to have that amount of ingredients into your menus, right? And on the other side, something that we do all the time is engagement with the suppliers, and this is a very, very important thing. And we are constantly working with them, understanding what is available, what is coming, what's going to be critical regarding the volumes that we manage. It's very important that you try to engage with your supplier, even if you are in a small business. I really encourage you to try to create that relationship with them. This way you will know when things are in season, better price, and even better quality. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Dante. And I just wanted to, we're going to be moving on to Chef Rob here in a second, but I just wanted to put a fine point on a couple of things that Brett and Dante brought up. So, making sure you're serving what your diners want and that they like, cross-utilizing ingredients to have fewer ingredients that you're bringing into the kitchen, so less chance for it to go to waste. Track your food waste so you understand what exactly is being wasted and why. And then the point that Brett made from the start: no blame. What we see time and time again is when food waste is brought into a kitchen as a new topic, as an area of focus, a lot of staff can feel like they're going to get in trouble if they talk about food waste, if they track their food waste, that's something wrong. But as Brett pointed out, no blame. This only helps the operation when food waste is brought to everyone's attention. So great stuff. Thank you, Brett and Dante. I'm going to ask you to hang around for Chef Rob's section. I want to hear your take on his input. But first, we're going to do another audience poll. If you could launch the next poll, please. What do you think your largest sources of food waste are? So, where do you think most of your food waste comes from in your kitchen? Do you think it's trim waste, trimming your vegetables, your fruit, your meat, expiration spoilage, stuff that's wasted because of poor inventory management, overproduction, making too much? plate waste, the waste that comes after the food is served and is discarded, or other? What else? Maybe there's some other area that you feel like is a large source of your food waste. So we'll give you another second here to fill in your answer. Okay, let's take a look at the results. Let's see here. Okay, so we got about 16% said trim waste, 5% said expiration, spoilage, 55% said overproduction, and then about a quarter of you said plate waste. Uh, Based on Leanpath data, the vast majority of food waste comes from overproduction, simply making too much, followed by trim waste and then expiration and spoilage. Having said that, we have tracked plate waste at some operations where it accounts for upwards of 60% of the operation's total food waste stream. So plate waste can be a big contributor as well. Rob is going to be talking about how to prevent food waste from these different sources. I'm going to turn it over to him to start with how to control overproduction. Rob, off to you.
Right on. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Brett. Thanks, Dante. Thanks, Sam. So, yeah, overproduction is always an issue, right? And then we just simply make too much, whether it be because we want to keep our buffets full or, we don't have good production sheets or controls in place. But overproduction is an issue. And here are some things that you can do to prevent or try to mitigate overproduction. First one is to review your waste data and update production sheets. Now, I can't tell you how many kitchens I walk into that chefs still don't use a production sheet. Not only, and if they do use them, they are not checking to make sure that they are followed. So it's unbelievably important to have a plan each day. This is how much you purchased. This is how much you're going to prep. This is what we're forecasting. All that information's on a production sheet. And then to go back and make sure that your team actually uses the production sheets that you wrote, and then post-service telling you what they did, because that's where you make your adjustments for any type of overproduction at the end of service. What worked, what didn't, any of that kind of stuff. And so it's all about those production sheets. Next one, Sam. And then if you are at a place that has a buffet, all right, so buffets are notorious for having a ton of overproduction. And what this boils down to is seriously that last 30 minutes of service, or those slow periods, right? And so, yes, I highly suggest that in those last 30 minutes, you start looking at what you can do. So that might be switching food into smaller vessels so you can put less out, but it still looks full, right? Or maybe cooking things a la minute or to order at the last 30 minutes. Like, hey, I know this is on a line right now, and talk to the guests and say, we're making this fresh for you so we don't have to waste anything that's not eaten. And that type of communication would be great. But it's really in that last 30 minutes of service that is vitally important. Next one. And then large batch cooking always sounds good. Going to save some labor. Somebody's going to make some, and I'm going to, make a bunch of it. And then we're going to either, put it in the freezer or store it till later. Hey, that's all right if you have a use for all that food. Otherwise, you're just wasting labor, and all that food then is not being utilized. So it's much better to just forecast and prep things that you're going to need for that day, right? And then if you have the storage space that's going to keep the quality and keep the amount that you want frozen or stored until you're going to use it. But I highly suggest never making more than you can use 1 or 2 times, but really beware, because that's a pitfall I lot of see a chefs making is, I'm just going to make a bunch of it. We'll use it up. Not always the case. They end up throwing out more than they're actually using. And that was all a waste, labor and food. Next one, Sam. And then, Dante kind of hit on this a little bit. And this is my thing is I always have a plan A, B, and C for every single ingredient that I bought, right? So plan A is, all right, I'm buying this basil for this dish, all right? That's why I'm buying the basil. My plan B is if I can't use it in that, what am I going to do with it, right? So that's my plan B. And plan C is if I couldn't use it for A, and B, how can I store it, save it, or preserve it to use in the future so it's not being wasted? So that might be freezing it, chopping it, putting it in oil, whatever, if it's basil or something like that. But I want to make sure that every ingredient that I'm purchasing, I have in my head, what am I going to do with that? I'm just not going to be like, hey, I buy it, use it if I use it. If we don't, no big deal. Bad idea. That always tends to lead to excessive food waste. So that's overproduction.
Awesome. Awesome. So the topic is overproduction, Brett and Dante. Anything you would add to this?
Oh, I think everything he said is absolutely bang on. I also believe that you've got to respect the robustness of your recipes to ensure that, like, the way in which your teams can access those recipes to ensure they have the right portion sizes, etc., as well, so that you're not over ordering, and that it also causes the overproduction. But honestly, you hit the nail on the head.
Awesome. So we're going to move on to trim waste. Take it over, Rob.
Yeah, so trim waste. A lot of people go, why do I check trim waste? Why do I even track trim waste? Oh my gosh, it's still waste. It's so much waste, right? And so I track trim waste so I can make some very important decisions about my operation just by checking that. So first thing is that trim waste, not all of it's actual waste. That's why we spot check our bins to look for usable product that our team maybe threw out by accident, maybe didn't know what to do with it, maybe their knife skills are lacking a little bit. I'm not sure, but I'm going to check those bins. I'm walking during prep, and I'm checking how's everybody doing. I'm seeing what's going on, right? And so spot checking bins is vitally important for a lot of different reasons. Next one. And then if this is something that always seems to work, is when you have your team doing their mise en place and setting up in the morning, usually we'll try to put a trim waste bin on their station. And I can preface this by saying a bad practice is having a garbage can right next to everybody. I mean, that's how I learned how to cook. Every cook had a garbage can sitting right next to them. And we do our chopping, slicing, dicing, mincing, and just whatever right into the bin, right? So get rid of every bin in that kitchen, right, to throw food away, and that one should live right by your tracker only in one spot. But in its place, everybody should have some type of Cambro, some type of Lexan bin on their station that they're putting all of their trim waste into. And then if you can and have the space to separate it between, hey, this is not usable, but hey, this is usable. We're going to put this away and do something with it. Stock, soup, sauces, essences, relishes, chutneys, all the things that you can do with all that trim waste that you might have just thrown out before. Next one. And then as you spot check bins, like, hey, man, I've been chef of a few kitchens in my days, right? And I always like to think that my staff had some pretty decent knife chops, right? They knew what they were doing. Yeah, not the case, right? Totally not the case. Especially when you're seeing them throw usable product into the bin. You're like, oh my God, core the tomato first and then slice it. Don't just lop the top off. Or, hey, that strawberry, don't just cut a third of the strawberry off and throw it in the bin. Just pick the green off. Or, hey, the end of that, zucchini. Or, hey, look at all that broccoli stem you're throwing out, or cauliflower. Like, oh my God, are you kidding me, right? And so if you see things like that, that's your time as a chef to be like, you know what? This is something I'm seeing across the from all of my team. They don't know how to fabricate a bell pepper. They don't know how to do this. So I would, if I was a chef, go, okay, everybody gather around. I've noticed this when I've been looking at the bins here. I'm going to show you how to get the most usable product out of this or the most usable product out of that. Here's how I want chicken trimmed or beef trimmed or fish trimmed or veg or fruit. Like, fruit is round when we start. I don't know many six-sided fruits, but when they peel a melon and take six slices, it should be nice and round, right? And show them how to do that. That's where a kitchen becomes a teaching kitchen, when the chef wants to teach. And that's always a good thing. Next one, Sam. And by tracking trim waste, this gives you data to make decisions. Make decisions if you are going to buy pre-cut. Now, pre-cut is good in many areas. Now, this day and age, excuse me, I don't know why any chef would buy onions. I'll give that example. Onions not peeled already. If they don't have a use, let's say they're not making stocks from scratch, they're not making anything from scratch. They have zero use for those onion peels. Yet every day, this chef buys whole onions, stands there while his team is wasting labor peeling them, right, and then taking that trim waste and throwing it away. Like, what are you doing? Yeah, peeled onions might cost you 30 cents a pound more here in the US, right? But just think about all the food that you're throwing out and all the labor you're wasting. Like, so it gives you that data that you can look at. Like, every time we buy this is how much usable trim we get. This is how much usable product. This is how much unusable trim. Should I buy those ingredients? Now, you might not want to buy every ingredient pre-done, but the ones that cost you the most money in trim and labor, start thinking a little smarter on your operation and how that works.
Awesome. There was one of our clients I was talking to recently said he identified one of his staff members who was excellent at knife skills and had him train the rest of the staff.
Yes.
So yeah, got a lot of buy-in, gave somebody a good recognition for their skills. So trim waste is the topic. Brett and Dante. Dante, do you have any input on this one? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I can definitely add something here. I obviously Rob covered many things there. The skill on the knife is very important, but I would probably like to emphasize on the menu development here when the people that is in charge of creating those menus select again the correct ingredient and add the detail into the recipe of how that needs to be treated. We do invest quite a lot of time on development, on testing things. And one advice probably I can share is that give it a try to use more vegetables with the skin on, like especially for
Ah,
soups, roast potatoes, things like that. Honestly, the flavor that some skins can add to the dishes, you lose that flavor when you lose the skin. And probably peeling a potato, I don't remember exactly, but you potentially can lose 10 to 15% already, It's not always the case, but it's definitely, there are many times that you can definitely use. And I'm sure it's going to have also a nutritional addition into that by keeping those skins. But the same time, we now this week we are celebrating across our sites the Stop Food Waste Day, and honestly, the creativity, the teams came with so many great ideas of using those skins into, again, soups or garnish, and definitely is that just encourage your team to try things, right? Guide them, and after encourage them to try different things.
love it. Awesome. Whole
Excellent.
vegetable. Yeah, don't if you want to get rid of trim waste, don't trim the vegetables. Brilliant.
Yeah, don't
And
peel it if you
yeah,
don't have to.
Yeah.
yeah, and getting your team's creativity going on repurposing trim. Brilliant. Great stuff, Dante. Thank you. So moving on to expiration spoilage.
Yeah, so when you are seeing a lot of, and it showed in the survey there in the audience poll that there were some people that was a major concern of theirs. That usually leads to a couple, or in my mind, a couple things. One is you have a procurement problem, an ordering problem, ordering too much, maybe a storage problem, or a communication issue. And it could be all of them combined. And so when we say communicate with your vendors, what are you actually communicating? You're communicating delivery days, delivery times, right? So, hey man, if I can get more multiple delivery days, smaller deliveries, or hey, if I can get it this time, I have a better chance to check it in and go through it and look for it, or get it stored faster and properly instead of sitting there, waiting for us to get around to it. And so communicating with your vendors on that, also communicating with your vendors on pack sizes, right? And so, like we said before, it's only good to buy certain things pre-cut, possibly, if it comes in the pack size. Because if it's only available in a 10-pound pack, I'm going to use US equivalents because I'm in the US, a 10-pound pack, but I don't need 10 pounds. I only need 3 pounds a week. Why am I buying 10 pounds? Right now, I'm just going to waste more and I've paid more. And so checking with your vendors, hey, is this available in a 5-pound pack? Is this available in single, 1-pound packs, whatever it may be? That communication with your vendors on times, dates, pack size, seasonal things that come in, all that kind of stuff. And if you're noticing that you're getting a very short shelf life, hey man, my dairy just came in and in 3 days it's going to be bad. Well, I need to at least get a week out of my dairy. So you talk to your vendor going like, what's going on? I need some fresher stuff so I have more shelf stable and longevity on the food that I've purchased. So communicating with your vendors is very key. Next one, Sam. And then conduct those daily inventory inspections. You're not doing a daily inventory, but you're darn well getting out of your office and walking through that cooler and checking everything. Like really physically looking at all the product. Remember, you're the chef. You've been in charge of that. That food has come into your kitchen. You are now the steward of everything that's in that kitchen. So every day I used to walk through and be like, all right, we got to use that up. That one's got to go. Why was this open? There was one over here. All right, guys, let's get this done and ready, right? So I did a physical inventory in my head, look for those things that I needed to use up so they didn't spoil, and we got them either on the menu or froze or whatever we had to do to keep it from being thrown away. So conduct those daily inspections. Next. And if you can, it depends on what segment you're in. Menu flexibility cannot always be built into some operations, such as healthcare. It's really hard in a healthcare unless you have a doctor's lounge or a cafeteria that the public comes to. But you can't just be like, I think I'm going to change the patient's food today. Yeah, here in the U.S., you can't do that. Like, it all has to go through nutritionists and everything else. So you can't just go ahead and do stuff like that. But if you can have that flexibility in your menu, even if you are running a cafe with multiple stations of buffets, maybe saving one station or one component to be able to say, hey, man, I'm going to try to use this stuff up and I'm going to create something and, dive into your recipe database and see if that check for all your allergens and do all that. But if you have flexibility in your menu to be able to repurpose and create things that would go to waste, that is always best. Now, everybody always doesn't have that opportunity, but that really does help quite a bit having that in there. And then always to have a 2-use shelf. Like in every kitchen, not only do we have a 2-use shelf that I've run, but we had a sheet outside the kitchen to keep everybody from having to walk in the cooler all the time and look what's on there. It went in the 2-use shelf and it went on the sheet outside. When we pulled it out, it got crossed off or hey, and then I could go in and be like, all right, these are the things that, and when they went in there and I put a star next to them and these got to be used up or we got to do something with this by the end of this shift or whatever. So having that 2-use shelf, hey man, once it's open, this is where it goes. And also that 2-use sheet outside so people aren't just going into the cooler and standing there going, oh, what am I going to do with this, right? So they can just look at it, stand outside and go, hey, I got this, I got that, I got that, I got that. Hey, I can do that with it. Or, hey, I need that. I'm going to pull that out of there and cross it off the list. And it just keeps a running list of things that go in, things that come out, things that have to be used all the time. So it's really easy kind of, and honestly, spoilage and expiration are almost one of the easiest ones to control if you're on top of it.
Is that the last topic in this one? Oh, we got one more.
So. Oh, and of course, this goes without saying, but properly wrapping, label, dating, everything, write legibly, put that date on there. Don't fudge your dates. And not only that, but keep everything organized. Like every kitchen I ever worked in, I spent the money and bought clear bins. Like we had bins and everything. Nothing from the delivery stayed in a box and went in. I wanted my whole team to be able to see everything that was there. So everything was in clear Lexan and Cambro bins, right? Everything taken out of the box. Sometimes you had to wash it, do whatever you got to do. Went on the shelf, sticker went on it. blah, 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 received on this day. We got to use it by this day, whatever it was. But really having that room, and what I see happen a lot is people over ordering. So then everything gets kind of jammed in the freezer or jammed in there. And then the air doesn't circulate properly, and you get moisture build up in the corner, which leads to mold build up, which leads to all kinds of junk because they're over ordering. Like, no, don't over order. Keep it stored properly, and you'll get much more shelf life out of the food that you've purchased.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob. Compass Group team, any thoughts on expiration spoilage?
We work extensively in this area as well. Obviously, we don't want to see anything getting thrown away. So with the Leanpath data for us, has enabled us to spot patterns early. I can give one quick example, which in one of the sites, we were getting rid of a lot of spinach was going out of date very quickly. Obviously, there was a lot of spinach being used in many different dishes. But just for the fact that it was going off, we realized we were over ordering, and that comes through very quickly. You make the slight adjustment, make the adjustment on the recipe if it was a slight ingredient amount wrong or anything like that. And of course, that enables you to have the correct amount. We definitely use first labels. We're really hard on rotation. We monitor the temperatures of goods coming in, goods going into the chillers, etc. So a good chef in the kitchen knows everything that's coming in and going out and should be monitoring that all the time. So that's something that we do extensively.
Love to hear you identified patterns with your Leanpath data. That's awesome. Rob, off to the hidden sources of waste.
Yeah, everybody likes to think, hey, I got my waste under control, but there's times that stuff just sneaks up on you, right? And you're just like, hey, man, whether it's an old habit or things you didn't realize was causing food to be wasted. And, here in the U.S., we have that old adage, when in doubt, throw it out, meaning, hey, if you question anything, just pitch it, better be safe than sorry, don't want to get anybody sick in my kitchen, blah, 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 that whole type thing. Well, now you really got to start questioning that. Like, hey, I'm just not going to throw that out. If I have a question about it, I'm going to make sure, hey, if it needs to be pitched, it needs to be pitched and thrown in the bin. But if it doesn't, we're going to cook it, freeze it, cure it, brine it, smoke it, whatever we're going to do with it to keep it from being thrown away. So just don't always take that thing and be like, oh, yep, I'm not sure. Just throw it away. That's bad. Bad habit to be into.
Yeah, and don't empower your staff to make those decisions. Bring it
correct.
to the managers, chefs to make those critical decisions. Yeah, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, equipment malfunction. This one doesn't happen often, but it costs you the most money. Meaning, if you guys are on, maybe you're a Monday through Friday operation or whatever, but when a cooler goes down, a walk-in, a reach-in, a low boy, or something like that, and it goes down, and you don't have a plan on what you're going to do with that food, then it's already too late. Like getting on the phone and trying to scramble and trying to call a vendor, see if you can get a refrigerator truck. It's already too late. That's the stuff that you need to have planned out long before you ever need it. So you have a refrigerated truck, a freezer truck, where if your stuff goes down, you can put it in there. And you should really be paying attention to your PM plans of all your kitchen equipment. That PM stands for preventative maintenance. If you're not doing preventative maintenance, the seals, the coils, all the condensers, all that stuff on a regular basis to keep your equipment tip top. People go, it'll be fine. I don't want to spend the money. No, spend the money, because it costs you a ton of money in the long run not to have properly running equipment at the right temperature, or it just goes down altogether. So that's always a hidden source. And then quality, just like Sam was saying, just like Dante and Brett were saying, like, hey, just because it's bad quality, I'll use the spinach example that Brett just gave. So if on the menu today is spinach salad, and my team member walks in there and grabs a bag of spinach out and it's kind of wilted, and he's like, hey, I'm going to throw that away. It's bad quality. Well, time out, dude. Time out, man. I might not be able to use that for spinach salad, but there are 20 other things I can do with that, man. I can chop it all up. I can wilt it. I can freeze it. I can do whatever I can do. So if there's a quality issue, always have them talk to a station lead or the chef before they make that decision. And then catering guarantee, always catering. I mean, we could have an entire webinar just on catering alone, because that is a unbelievably massive food waste. And people go, well, it's already paid for, I don't really care. Oh no, there's a million things you can do, and in the future we should address that. But working closely with your catering partner, the person who's putting on. That means the admin assistant, whoever booked it, that constant communication. Hey, am I still expecting 200 people? Hey, did the count drop or go up or go down? Having that open communication will save you a lot of headache and heartache in the long run. And catering waste on its own is an entire topic that we at Leanpath address head on, and we should do a webinar on that one in the future.
I'm going to jump straight into plate waste to make sure we're staying
Perfect.
on schedule. So let's
Yeah, I'll
jump.
kind of
Let's
pick it up
keep
a little
rolling.
bit here for you, Sam. So understanding plate waste. And so looking at the plate waste when it comes back, as a chef, I want to know what my guests did or did not like. I want to know what got eaten, what did not get eaten. So, I'll either spot check it myself. My sous will spot check it. I'll ask the front of the house, hey, what happened? How they did not like it? What happened? And if I see a pattern, all right, I'm making some adjustments in what's happening. So spot check that return food, make your notes. If you have a tracking system to track that using AI or whatever, that's awesome. But it always helps to get eyes on what's coming back. And then look at, if you're seeing that, it's, hey, if you ask the front of the house, hey, they loved it. The chef, they love that food, but it's coming back. Now I need to look at my portion size. Am I trying to fill a plate, or am I serving the proper portion for what a normal human being can eat, right? And here in America, we are ridiculously huge over portioning of everything. I'm embarrassed to even say it, but we are. And then looking at those portion sizes going, dude, the human stomach can't even hold that much food. Why am I going to put that on there? And put everything should be considered. It's this many bites of a steak, this much sauce, this much starch, this much veg. Everything should work together so we all finish at the same time. Life is good, right? It's called plate composition and menu design and portion size. So look at that. Next one, Sam. And then really, like I said, engage the front of the house. If you're seeing something that's happening, right? Hey, ask them. What is going on out there? Hey, they thought it was too spicy. They thought this, they thought that. Hey, chef, we should have a spiciness scales. They didn't realize it was this spicy. Or maybe it's something as simple as you need to rewrite your menus so you can tell people, what they're actually getting. When I write menus, it's always about 3 things that are on the menu for everything. It's what is the item they're getting, what is the cooking technique, and what is the main predominant flavor. So if I serve something on my menu, salmon with shallots and it's seared, I wouldn't actually call it shallot seared salmon with blah, 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 right? So they know exactly everything they're getting. There's no surprises, so they get it and go, they didn't understand it, or they thought it was not as spicy or whatever. So getting that communication going from the front of the house will really help you with those types of things. And then, instead of saying, I don't really want it, there are times that people just either, like when I travel, I can't take the food back to a hotel because I'm leaving the next day or whatever, right? But if they're just going back home, encourage them to take it back home. Like, would love to wrap this up for you and having that communication with front of the house. But, we're trying to, if they couldn't eat it with us, let them take it and enjoy it later. They'll think about our restaurant. They'll think about how awesome our food is. And that way they can enjoy it later. And then really, engage with your customers along the line. So that would mean like any of your sustainability efforts or things that you're trying to do, like, hey, this might not be available now, this is why, but that signage showing your efforts to reduce food waste goes a long way in the eyes of your guests, so they understand why maybe some of the decisions in your operation, if you're communicating that with them.
Awesome. Thank you. And we're going to go to our final poll, our final audience poll. If you could pull that up for us, Sarah. And the final poll is, so we've just reviewed a lot of best practices. How many of those best practices do you estimate your culinary team consistently follows? How many of those are they consistently executing on? None, a lot of work to be done. A quarter of them, half, 75%. You're nailing all of them. Give us an estimate of how you're doing on these. We'd love to see how folks in their teams are executing on these best practices. We'll give you another second here. Okay, let's close it down and see what the results are. Let's see how folks feel like they are doing on best practices in preventing food waste. That's great to see. Nobody said 0. That's awesome. 75% Awesome. That is fantastic. That is wonderful to hear. Some folks are not doing it, not as consistent, but a lot of people at 75 and 4% at 100%.
Wow,
That
that's
is
awesome.
impressive. Awesome. So let's close that one out and we're gonna keep moving here. So we've reviewed tips for controlling food waste in your kitchen, but we haven't touched on one of the most important topics, and that's creating a waste-aware kitchen culture. Ideally, your teams care about food waste, and we find that when this topic is introduced, you find a hidden well of interest in your staff, among your staff, concern about this issue, and you want them to hold each other accountable. So you want it to be a part of your day to day and your culture. To set the stage for that, we've got some suggestions, and Brett is going to kick us off. This goes to you, Brett,
I
or
can take
Dante.
this, Sam. Yeah,
Okay,
I can take
thanks.
this.
Sorry, Brett. Go with it, Dante.
Look, we strongly believe this is a culture that you need to build, right? That with your people, with your team, is where you have to work, because this is definitely, as you say, a everyday commitment, and you need to find, as leader, to find a way to show them how it can be improved, right? From recording some data, start capturing some data from your things, and work with them to come with ideas, like lead them, but work with them and say, hey, what can we do about that? And have, if you cannot have it every day, but every 2 or 3 days, have short meetings with your staff and see what can we do while that is happening, right? And just having those honest conversations, you will see improvement very quickly, and you will see how the team start to engage with you, because we've seen it. We've seen many people get excited about that, because either from a sustainability point of view or for a financial point of view, everyone will have a motivation for that. Thank you.
If I
Just
had
to
one
just to go on a
suggestion,
little bit about that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
I 100% agree with Dante. It is a real change in mindset, and actually becomes in the kitchen a really great point of conversation, because everybody wants to one up each other on what they think they can do with that particular rescue product or
Awesome.
the leftover product. And when you start having that frame of mind in the kitchen, the creativity becomes boundless. So it's
Great
a
things
really
happen.
great journey to be on.
Explain the why. Who's taking this one? Is this one you, Brett?
Yeah. Well, why? Probably because of what I just touched on before, the what it creates in your team first and foremost. If we're just talking about your relationships with your staff members, the amount of when you come from a position like we are in a big catering company, sometimes you can feel that your creativity can be stifled a little bit, because we can be so prescribed, because we want consistency. But these types of things are where we get to be creative. These types of things are where we get to show our skills. And more often than not, a lot of these little savings come from our families, or from little influences in our life from when we were young. So why do we do it? Very, very simple. Financial and environmental issues. And to be honest, all chefs want to do as much as they can with the ingredients that they have, and that's what it's all about.
Great. Moving on to you, Rob, with make food waste visible. This is central to what we do at Leanpath.
Yeah, so we track it, we talk about it, so we analyze it, and that's really what it's all about. It's knowing that one, every kitchen has food waste. Two, let's track it so we can fix it, right? And so there's always like two types of food waste. There's the acceptable amount of food waste, the kind of a very small cost of doing business. There's going to be some trim waste. There's going to be this. There's going to be that, right? And then there's the excessive amount, and we want to make that that excessive amount become very visible as the point we're trying to reduce, right? And we're going to do our best. So making it visible, talking about it, sharing graphs, sharing charts, looking at Leanpath online, using the app, whatever we have, all the tools we have to help make it visible to those teams are always key. But keep it on the forefront in their mind. Every time they pick up a knife, they should be thinking about that. Like, how do I get the most usable product out of this, right? So making that very aware.
Exactly. And so I mean, that's a great point. Every time they take a knife to a vegetable. They are thinking, how do I keep excessive waste down? Great point. Moving on, engage and celebrate your team.
Well, I think there is you need to find your champions, right? In the kitchen, and those ones are gonna take the other ones into the journey. And it's not always in the kitchen. Sometimes it could be a front of house person, right? That is very passionate about and is taking care and is working with the rest of the team on trying to bring new ideas. But definitely finding those people that wants to help you to lead is very important, because it's not something that you can achieve by yourself. This is definitely something that can be achieved as a team. That's I think that's the big message, is like is working together how can be achieved.
And closing us out, make sure there's leadership. Brett, close us out here.
I think the most important thing about that is to show that you, through your leadership, is consistent. You get a very strong message from top down, and then it's just about ensuring that everybody gets on the same page. Now, that isn't always an easy task. So I think you just have to make sure that you are that your processes are sorted out really well prior, but also the fact that you are encouraging and allowing your team to understand why we're doing it. And obviously, it's a pretty simple why.
Yeah, and making sure that folks understand this is not a one-off effort, that the leadership is sending the message that this is a new way of operating.
You know, in the end, it just becomes normal life. And I think that's where we are at now. It's even to be having the conversation, it's great. But I know that I've seen the changes over the last few years, and it's a great journey to be on.
Awesome. Thank you, Brett. Jess, I see you are joining. Do we have time for Q&A?
Yeah, I think there's only one or two in there that might be worth, yeah.
Sure, sure. So at the top of the session, I mentioned that 4 to 10% of, based on Leanpath data, 4 to 10% of food purchases go to waste. That's what we have shown. And the question is this wasted edible food, or is it only inedible scraps, eggshells, meat bones, etc.? Would be good to understand. So we're just talking about we're not talking about inedible. So when we track, we are removing the inedible portions primarily. So this is for above and beyond on this is edible product. You got trim, that's peel, that's not necessarily edible, but it can be reused, and there is a way to have less of it, as we talked about, through better knife skills, through training. So yes, when we talk about that 4 to 10%, it's primarily edible product. And another comment, lots of Rob's suggestions can be applied at home to prevent food waste there too. Exactly. That's great. Yes, we encourage folks to take these ideas and practice them at home. That is all the time we have for Q&A. I'm going to turn it over to Jess to close us out here.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's amazing. I've been in food service, I won't say how long, a good 35 years. And I still always learn things. So it's great to have you guys along today. And firstly, I'd like to thank you all. I mean, Leanpath, it's Sam and Rob, and then Compass with Brent and Dante. It's really inspirational to learn what you're doing. I think it's really valid or worth a shout out to hear that the poll said 75% of businesses attending are putting these things into action. And I think, you lean on what Brett said, there's real momentum in this space, and that's what us at Kai Commitment are working to do. They're working to lead with businesses doing this. And I know we've got a lot of people attending from the Retirement Association and Villages today, and they've just done some great work, also funded by MFE in this space. But I think hopefully you can all pick something up you learned today. It's been tangible insights, and I encourage you to pick one and take it away and talk to a colleague about it and put it into practice. And I think learn from Brett. It's not about being perfect. It's about getting started, and it's about putting in principles that then build systems, and maybe, like Dante said, picking a champion. So as a follow-up from today, we're going to send out an email with a lot of resources, tools and guides for you to work independently to kind of understand what waste you have within your operation. But if you're interested in really understanding it, monitoring it, and building a culture around food waste, we'd love to support you. This is what Kai Commitment does, and we'd encourage you to reach out and explore how we can help you in your journey. So in the email, follow-up email, we've got examples from ourselves, we've got examples from Leanpath, from the US Food Pack, and we've got contacts for both of us. So all the best in your food waste journey, and thank you for your time today. And yeah, I hope you're inspired and will go home and apply it in your kitchen. As they said, I really like the fact that the use next, or what to use sheet and tape, matches with what Love Food Hate Waste does in the space, and consumer is the use up next tape they put in consumer fridges. So everything is transferable, and we're all ambassadors, whether it's an employee or a consumer. So all the best. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay.